listening to the Holy Bible 1-Year Challenge with Master Storyteller Michael Wood, featuring the easy-to-read version and used by permission from Bible League International. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 346. We're continuing in the book of Esther, and Esther is now queen, right next to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. So she has a considerable amount of influence, but her background, being that she is a Jew, has been hidden from the king and everyone else. And then the king brings along this guy named Haman. And when Mordecai, the Jew who was a mentor to Esther, doesn't give Haman the respect he thinks he deserves, Haman hatches a plan to kill Mordecai. But not just Mordecai, but all the Jews in the empire. That sounds like a massacre. But Mordecai has a plan of his own, but he's going to need Queen Esther's help. And we're also continuing in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation. And Jesus sends a message to two more churches, the church in Laodicea and the church in Philadelphia. And there's a metaphor that Jesus uses to describe one of the churches. We call it lukewarm. That means the church isn't on fire, like they're hot and they're doing all kinds of righteous things. They're not hot, but they're not cold either. Cold would probably be an anti-church of some sort. At least you would know where those people stand. But these people basically called themselves believers. They called themselves a church, but they're not really performing the way they should be. And so there's something about that characteristic that Jesus flat out rejects. And he wishes that they were either hot or cold. If you enjoy the show, visit me at patreon.com/storymaster. You'll find the link in the description box below. By contributing as little as $1 per month, you will enable me to continue this ministry, and you'll get cool rewards too. Together, we're going to get through the Bible in 1 year. Let's get started. Esther chapter 2, verses 19 to 23. Mordecai learns about an evil plan. Mordecai was sitting near the king's gate when the young women were brought together a second time. Esther still had not told anyone about her family background. She kept secret the fact that she was a Jew, which is what Mordecai had told her to do. She continued to obey Mordecai, as she had done when he was raising her. Two of the king's officers, Bigthana and Teresh, guarded the doorway to the king's private area. During the time that Mordecai was sitting near the king's gate, these two men became angry with King Xerxes and began making plans to kill him. But Mordecai learned about these plans and told Queen Esther. And Esther took Mordecai's report to the king. The king made sure this report from Mordecai was true. Then he ordered the two officers to be hanged. The king ordered that all this be written down in his book of records, and he watched to see that it was done. Esther chapter 3. Haman's plan to destroy the Jews. Sometime later, King Xerxes honored a man named Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. The king promoted Haman to the most important position among all his officials. The king ordered all the officials who served at his palace to bow down and give honor to Haman. But Mordecai refused to bow down or give honor to him. Then the king's officials who served at his palace asked Mordecai,
"Why don't you obey the king's command to bow down to Haman?"
Day after day, the king's officials spoke to Mordecai, but he refused to obey the command. He said he was a Jew, and that meant he could not bow down to Haman. So they told this to Haman to see if he would do anything about Mordecai. When Haman saw that Mordecai refused to bow down to him or give him honor, he was very angry. When Haman learned that Mordecai was a Jew, he was not satisfied to kill only Mordecai. He also wanted to find a way to destroy all his people, the Jews, throughout Xerxes' kingdom. This was in the 12th year of King Xerxes' rule, in the first month, the month of Nisan. To find out the best time to do what he planned, Haman ordered his servants to use something called Purim, that is, lots. The lots showed that the best time to do what he planned would be in the 12th month, the month of Adar. So then Haman went to King Xerxes and said,
There is a certain group of people scattered through all the territories of your kingdom who keep themselves separate from everyone else. Their customs are different from those of all the other people, and they don't obey the king's laws. So it is not good for you to keep letting them live in your kingdom. If it pleases the king, I have a suggestion. Give a command to destroy these people. If you will do this, I can promise you that those who take care of your business will receive 340,000 kilograms of silver for the king's treasury.
So the king took the official ring off his finger and gave it to his enemy of the Jews, Haman, son of Habadatha the Agagite. The king said to Haman,
Do what you want with these people, and you can keep the money you take from them.
So on the 13th day of the first month, Haman called together the king's secretaries. He told them to write down his orders and send them in letters to the regional rulers, the governors of all the territories, and the leaders of the different groups of people. They wrote in all the different languages of the people and in the form of writing used in each territory. They sent these letters in the name of King Xerxes himself and sealed them using the king's own ring. Messengers carried the letters to all the king's territories. The letters gave the order to kill, to destroy, and to completely wipe out all Jews, young and old, including women and children. This was to be done on a single day, the 13th day of Adar, the 12th month. The order also said to take everything the Jews owned. A copy of the letters with the order was to be sent to every territory. The order was to become law and be announced to the people of every nation living in the kingdom. Then everyone would be ready for that day. At the king's command, the messengers hurried off with the letters. The order was also announced in the palace area of Susa. Then the king and Haman sat down to drink together. The people in the city were confused by the order they had heard. Esther chapter 4. Mordecai persuades Esther to help. When Mordecai heard about all that had been done, he was deeply troubled. He tore his clothes off and put on rags. He put dirt on his head and went out into the city crying loudly. But Mordecai went only as far as the king's gate. No one was allowed to enter the gate dressed in rags. In every territory where the king's command had gone, there was great sorrow among the Jews. They were fasting and crying loudly. Many of them put dirt on their heads and were lying on the ground wearing rags. Esther's slave women and men, servants, came to her and told her about Mordecai. This made Queen Esther very sad and upset. She sent clothes for Mordecai to put on instead of the rags, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called Hathach, one of the king's servants who had been chosen to serve her. She told him to find out what was bothering Mordecai and why he refused the clothes. So Hathach went out to where Mordecai was in the city square in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told Hathach everything that had happened to him. Mordecai told him about the amount of money Haman had promised to put into the king's treasury for killing all the Jews. Mordecai also gave Hathach a copy of the king's order to kill the Jews. The order had been sent out all over the city of Susa. He wanted Hathach to show it to Esther and tell her everything. And he told him to encourage Esther to go to the king and beg him for mercy for Mordecai and her people. Hathach went back to Esther and told her everything Mordecai had said. Then Esther told Hathach to go back to Mordecai and give him this message.
The king has one rule about meeting with him, and his officials and all the people of the territories know it. The rule is that any man or woman who goes to the king without being invited must be put to death unless the king holds out his gold scepter to spare them. And the last time I was called in to see the king was 30 days ago.
When Mordecai received this message from Esther, he sent her this answer.
Don't think that just because you live in the king's palace, you will be the only Jew to escape. If you keep quiet now, help and freedom for the Jews will come from another place. But you and your father's family will all die. And who knows? Maybe you have been chosen to be queen for such a time as this.
And then Esther sent this answer to Mordecai.
Mordecai, go and get all the Jews in Susa together and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days and nights. My servant girls and I will fast too. Then I will go to see the king, even knowing it is against the law. If I die, I die.
So Mordecai went away and did everything Esther told him to do. Esther chapter 5. Esther speaks to the king. On the 3rd day of fasting, Esther put on her royal robes. She went and stood in the inside area of the king's palace, in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his throne in the hall, facing the entrance. When the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, he was very pleased. He held out his gold scepter to her. So Esther went in and touched the end of the scepter. The king asked,
What can I do for you, Queen Esther? Tell me what you want. I will give you anything you ask for, even half my kingdom.
Esther said,
My king, I have prepared a banquet for you and for Haman. If it pleases you, would you come today and be my guests?
Then the king said to his servants,
Bring Haman here right away, so we can do what Esther asks.
So the king and Haman went to the banquet Esther had prepared for them. While they were drinking wine, the king said to Esther,
Now, what is it you want? I will give it to you. Just tell me what it is, and it will be yours. Up to half my kingdom.
Esther answered,
I do have something I want to ask for. If my king is pleased with me and thinks it good to give me what I ask for, please come again tomorrow with Haman to the banquet I will prepare for you. Then, my king, I will explain to you what I want.
Haman's anger at Mordecai. Haman left the king's palace that day very happy and in a good mood. But when he saw Mordecai at the king's gate, he became very angry because Mordecai did not show any sign of respect when Haman walked by. He did not tremble in fear. But Haman controlled his anger and went home. Then he called together his friends and his wife Zeresh. Haman started talking about how rich he was and how many sons he had. He told them about all the ways the king had honored him, how the king had promoted him higher than all the king's other leaders and officials.
And that's not all,
Haman added.
I'm the only one Queen Esther invited to be with the king at the banquet she gave, and she has invited me to come with the king again tomorrow. But I cannot feel good about any of this as long as I see that Jew, Mordecai, sitting at the king's gate.
Then Haman's wife Zeresh and all his friends had an idea, and they said,
Tell someone to build a high platform 22 meters tall. In the morning, ask the king to have Mordecai hanged on it. Then you'll feel better about going to the banquet with the king.
Haman liked this idea, so he ordered someone to build the platform. Revelation chapter 3, verses 7 to 22. Jesus' message to the church in Philadelphia. Write this to the angel of the church in Philadelphia. Here is a message from the one who is holy and true, the one who holds the key of David. When he opens something, it cannot be closed. And when he closes something, it cannot be opened. I know what you do. I have put before you an open door that no one can close. I know you are weak, but you have followed my teaching and have boldly confessed my name. Listen, those in that group who belong to Satan say they are God's chosen people, but they are not. They are liars. I will make them come before you and bow at your feet. They will know that you are the people I have loved. You followed my command to endure patiently. So I will keep you from the time of trouble that will come to the world, a time that will test everyone living on earth. I am coming soon. Hold on to the faith you have, so that no one can take away your crown. Those who win the victory will be pillars in the temple of my God. I will make that happen for them. They will never again have to leave God's temple. I will write on them the name of my God and the name of the city of my God. That city is the new Jerusalem. It is coming down out of heaven from my God. I will also write my new name on them. Everyone who hears this should listen to what the Spirit says to the churches. Jesus' message to the church in Laodicea. Write this to the angel of the church in Laodicea. Here is a message from the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the ruler of all that God has made. I know what you do. You are not hot or cold. I wish that you were hot or cold, but you are only warm, not hot, not cold. So I am ready to spit you out of my mouth. You say you are rich. You think you are wealthy and don't need anything, but you don't know that you are really miserable, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. Do you want real riches? Then I advise you to buy gold from me, the most valuable kind of gold. Buy clothes from me that are pure and white. Then you will be able to cover your shameful nakedness. And buy the medicine I have put on your eyes, so that you will be able to see. I correct and punish the people I love. Show that you are serious about your faith. Change your hearts and lives. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and eat with you, and you will eat with me. I will let everyone who wins the victory sit with me on my throne. It was the same with me. I won the victory and sat down with my Father on his throne. Everyone who hears this should listen to what the Spirit says to the churches. Psalm chapter 141, verses 1 through 10, a psalm of David. Lord, I call to you for help. Listen to me as I pray. Please hurry and help me. Accept my prayer like a gift of burning incense, the hands I lift in prayer as an evening sacrifice. Lord, help me control my tongue. Don't let me say anything bad. Take away any desire to do evil or to join the wicked in doing wrong. Help me stay away from their feasts. If good people correct me, I will consider it a good thing. If they criticize me, I will accept it like a warm welcome. But my prayer will always be against the wicked and the evil they do. Let their judges be put to death. Then everyone will know that I told the truth. Like rocks in a field that a farmer has plowed, so our bones will be scattered to the edge of the grave. My Lord God, I look to you for help. I look to you for protection. Don't let me die. Those evil people are trying to trap me. Don't let me fall into their traps. Let the wicked fall into their own traps, while I walk away unharmed. Thank you, everyone. That was day 346. Join us for day 347. We'll continue in the book of Esther. When people are talking or ask you a question, do you sometimes think they're talking about you? Well, that's what happens to good old Haman, and it may cost his life. When King Xerxes asks for a bedtime story, he finds out that it was Mordecai who saved his life, and that Haman is the evil one with the evil plot. So the king asks Haman a question, and of course Haman thinks the king is talking about him. He couldn't be so wrong. He ends up begging Esther for his life. Will Esther grant mercy or see him die on his own gallows that he built? And we will continue in the book of Revelation. In chapter 4, a door opens up in front of John, and Jesus asks him to come on in through the door. And in that door is heaven itself. And John gets the grand tour, and he got to write about it, and you get to hear about it. If you're ever curious of what's in heaven, make sure you don't miss the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's verses. Be sure to leave us a positive review and to share this podcast with your friends and family. Please join us for the next episode as we experience the Bible in 1 year.
Did you know we offer online courses in creative writing, literature, and web design? Visit us at storymaster.online to learn more.